My name's Taylor Kurosaki. I'm the narrative director at Infinity Ward working on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
My name is Brian Bloom. I play Captain Nick Reyes, and I am also writer of the game with Tim.
Narratively, we're looking to tell a romantically kind of crafted traditional war story. We have a clear good versus evil. We against a relentless foe on one of the worst days in the history of the Earth. In terms of mechanically, what our new setting allows us to do is to create new combat scenarios where you are trying to outsmart your enemy, outflank your enemy, out-strategize your enemy, both on the ground and in space. You can move to establish new cover positions, but now instead of just moving on a traditional two-dimensional playing field, you can go up, you can go down below. What is up and what is down are relatively changed compared to what your orientation is to the enemies. So we're really excited about this kind of new space version of flanking and cover placement. You have a grapple hook that allows you to go from one cover point to another and to outsmart your enemies. And also one of the new things in this Call of Duty is we have a vehicle, a persistent vehicle that you return to time and time again. It's called a Jackal. It's our version of a fighter jet, but this fighter jet can work in a normal atmosphere and can also work in a zero atmosphere way. And its controls are deep yet approachable for a FPS player. You can ADS. You can strafe with it, so it has very familiar controls to actually playing in a normal ground-based first-person environment. We don't look at it as making a science fiction game. What we look at is this is the next logical step in warfare. Traditionally, going back to ancient times, wars are almost always over resources and the access to resources and controlling those resources. And so the theater of war in Infinite Warfare is no different. This is about different factions of humans fighting over limited resources, and it just so happens that the battlefield now is moved. You know, the war theater has moved beyond the reaches of our atmosphere. But it's still very traditional, good versus evil, two factions fighting but on a much bigger scale. You know, Call of Duty has always featured vehicles. It's always featured vehicle sections that will come about during different parts of the story. But what's really unique about Infinite Warfare is this Jackal dogfighting mechanic is deep enough that it is a persistent thing throughout the campaign. It's your Jackal is your method of transport into and out of various areas of operation, and then once you get there, you'll have to fight against enemy ships. We call them skelters. They have aces, kind of like different pilots that have different levels of proficiency, and the highest level of proficiency for the enemies are these aces. And once you get to an area, you can battle against the opponent's forces, take out their skelters, and then move in on their warships. And, you know, your hub, your home base is a carrier. It's the UNSA Retribution, and the enemy also has carriers, destroyers. I mean, it's analogous to naval warfare, but now in the sea of space. So one of the things that we've done with this game is Infinity Ward has its own performance capture stage. It was built just before we started shooting for this game, and it's a very large space. It has great acoustics, and what it allows us to do is almost every single line of dialogue we get in the game, every scene is captured with multiple actors on stage at the same time, capturing their body motions, their faces, and their voices all simultaneously. And we shoot as a squad. We rehearse as a squad. We do weapons training with naval advisors, Navy SEALs, and every scene in the game is captured as a squad, as a group, moving as a unit, and the scenes have that life that you can only get if you have multiple people interacting with each other on the stage at the same time. Nothing is done in isolation. Nothing is done in a voiceover booth. Everything is done with using the full body, using the teamwork like dynamic of soldiers moving together, and we think it's really going to translate to be a much more realistic experience. One of the things that the 3-year development cycle affords us is the ability to kind of really take our time creating the perfect cast, and we work with casting directors, but one of the things that we insist on is when we are auditioning actors and working with them, that we audition them ourselves. And so I'll be on set seeing every single actor and working with them, talking about the character, talking about the role, talking about the motivations that this character has in this particular scene, and then Brian will be there working with them as well, because you need chemistry between different actors. This is not, if someone comes in and they have rehearsed how they want to play a role, we try to throw them out of their comfort zone a little bit. Brian might improvise, he might say a line in a way that they aren't expecting, and how that other actor responds to him in the scene, that's what creates those believable characters in those believable situations. And so we worked really, really hard to cast actors that were not only that understood what it meant to play a soldier, but also understood sort of the level of realism we were going for, the level of believability, and who had the right mindset. If you're going to move into a battle zone, if you're going to move into a war with people, you want to have people that have your back. And so we wanted to have actors who sort of had our back and whose backs we had. So it was nice to develop that camaraderie, develop that chemistry with, again, these are real human beings. War comes down to soldiers fighting against other soldiers. It can be, on the in any sort of a, in any kind of a war zone. It really comes down to these soldiers fighting alongside each other and protecting each other, and having a cast that had a chemistry, that had relationships, that know each other. That I think translates to what you see on the screen.
It is not the first time, but it is, it is it is probably the most interesting, immersive time in terms of my career. Working on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, as Taylor was mentioning before, we have our own motion capture stage. And having that stage gave us an opportunity to have an incredibly fresh, immersive, kind of constant experience. This 3-year development cycle gave us a chance to iterate and to create something really special. And as you guys were talking about before, we were talking about chemistry with the actors. And over these 3 years, these are people that you'd want to get in a foxhole with. And, our player's going to pick up the stick and he's going to get in a foxhole with this cast and with this team, with his unit. And it was the same for us when we were looking at who we were going to work with and how we were all going to work together. These experiences kind of mirror each other, and it's really one and the same. Ultimately, you don't always get to pick your team. In the military, we had the added benefit of being able to pick our team here, and we hope the players will feel that we made some excellent choices, and this is a team they're going to want to move into a target-rich environment with. I did. First of all, when we started, it wasn't designed for me to necessarily. We didn't start working Lieutenant Reyes, who becomes Commander, and Captain Reyes from the ground up. It wasn't about me playing the role. It was about you playing the role. It was about you jumping into the skin of this guy who's a Special Combat Air and Recon pilot, this excellent fusion of a Top Gun pilot and a Navy SEAL. We were looking at his dedication, his determination, his discipline, his relationship to his team, his crew, his world. So, you know, it's not about me doing both of those roles and wearing both of the hats, although that's an interesting aspect to all of this. This is about you jumping into Captain Nick Reyes' skin and having that experience. You know, what was exciting is that Kit Harington will tell you this himself. I think there's some video of him talking about this, and you know, he was excited. He hasn't had that opportunity, I think, to play a villain. So it was, you know, one of his ambitions. You know, I think he likes the game. I think he likes games, and these are all things that he has said that he's, you know, this was exciting for him. This was new and this was different, and it was an opportunity to do something different. And it was an opportunity for us. It's an opportunity for our fans to see him in a new light.